Planet Express has been hired by the Democratic Order of Planets for a very important mission to deliver the ceremonial giant scissors for the ribbon cutting at the organization's new headquarters in orbit around the neutral planet. Fry, Leela, and Bender fly off to the new Dupe HQ while 25-star General Captain Zap Brannigan stews in his own emotions. He cannot stand the neutrals nor anything they stand for, and when the Planet Express crew arrives, he arrests them on suspicion of being neutral, taking them aboard his own ship. However, this leaves Captain Brannigan unable to cut the ribbon as he was appointed to do, so he nonchalantly decides to do so remotely, using the ship's laser. Predictably, this act destroys the facility, forcing the dupe to relocate back to their old headquarters in New Jersey. At the ensuing trial, Zap is stripped of his rank and title and dismissed from service, as is his second, Kif Croker, for his failure to stop him. With nowhere else to turn, the pair show up at the doorstep of Planet Express, where Zap begs Leela for help. She is unmoved, but the professor decides to hire them onto the company. With Zap Brannigan around, things are bound to go wrong, and they very quickly do so. During their very first delivery with their new co-workers, Leela's strict command as captain enables Zap to turn Fry and Bender against her, staging a mutiny and installing Zap as the replacement captain. His first act in the role? To abandon their current mission in favor of a personal one, an assault on the homeworld of Zap's most hated adversaries, the Neutrals. A course is set for the capital of the neutral planet and the ship's controls are locked. Zap ropes Kif into joining him and the two escape in the only spacesuits aboard, leaving the others to die in a horrible fiery crash. Reassuming command, Leela orders Fry and Bender to load all the ship's fuel into one side of the engine, redirecting their ship's course just enough to avoid impact. Soon after, they are called in by the dupe to testify about the incident. Zap's slick words allow him to claim credit for the rescue, leading to his reinstatement in his old job and title. Meanwhile, the Planet Express crew have learned a valuable lesson from this experience, Fry and Bender to respect their captain, and Leela to be less strict with them. In the end, a brush with death has brought them all closer together. Welcome to Space Podcast 3000, where the future is in the past. Today, and Zap Brannigan continues to be an insufferable asshole.
Yeah, this is a very... It's not Love's Labor's Lost in Space, but it is a very frustrating Zap-centric episode.
Yes, absolutely.
He's a manipulative misogynist.
Manipulative misogynist war criminal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he wants to fly a white flag and then attack, and that is literally a war crime.
Yeah, it's called perfidy.
And you can't even argue that they're in space, because the Geneva Convention did happen.
Yeah, you're right. Hermes mentions the United Nations, so yeah, the Geneva Conventions clearly do exist in this universe.
And they're called the Democratic Order of Planets, so obviously they follow some sort of rules like that.
But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. So this is another episode with a really good cold open, where we have Fry and Bender playing a spoof of the chess game from Star Wars.
Which, I mean, I want to play Hollow Chess.
Same.
I know 5D chess exists.
Yeah, I've seen 5D chess. You can buy it on Steam.
Yeah, the multiverse time travel thing. That just... I consider myself a relatively smart person, but that just... looking at that makes my brain melt.
Yeah, I have a friend who plays it on the regular, though they are someone who is very much into math.
Yeah, but, like, I'm surprised that the official Star Wars chess computer game was not an adaptation of the Hollow Chess and was instead just, regular-ass chess, but with, Star Wars characters.
Right. I believe there has been adaptations of that circular one, which does have a specific name. I don't know it right now. I'm going to look it up, actually.
Yeah, I'm not familiar enough with the Star Wars expanded universe lore to have any idea.
It's called Dejarik.
That sounds like a very Star Wars name. I buy that.
Which is probably closer to like a turn-based strategy game than, which I suppose chess technically is, but you know what I mean.
So, actually, speaking of popular sci-fi franchises, it's interesting that Hermes mentions Star Trek in this episode.
Yeah, considering what we know, later episodes, Star Trek was banned.
Yeah, isn't there a later episode that establishes it's forbidden to even speak that name? I mean, it's also kind of like in the first episode where, Fry meets Leonard Nimoy and he's like, Spock, do the thing! And it doesn't come up. I mean, I guess they just hadn't come up with the Star Trek Wars yet, but it's still weird in retrospect.
Wasn't that the massive migration of Star Trek fans?
No, that's the Star Wars Trek.
Oh, right.
I like the crowd scene at the Dupe, though. Like, there's some really creative alien designs.
That, and you also just get the throwback from all the previous ones that we've encountered, which is always fun.
The Trisolians are there.
The Trisolians, you have some, well, not just there, but also the ones in the hollow chest. There's a Trisolian there too.
Yeah, even Glurmo showed up.
Yeah, he was in the jury.
Mm-hmm. And, Fry is just in awe at all of these different aliens. Then he just gets distracted by the muffins at the snack table. In fairness, so would I.
Yeah, muffins are great.
Food is food.
Oh my god, where did you get that brownie?
I would hope they'd have a variety of cuisine from different planets as well.
Yes. Oh god, yes. Like, Elzar is kind of an annoying character, but I do really like the concept of him, just because I like the idea of, being able to, of, like, alien cuisine becoming, like, a high-class thing. I just think that's really neat.
Which, I mean, it makes sense, considering when, like, the colonialists discovering all the different cuisines from around the world, and then we live in this society that has all kinds of different places, like, especially living in the middle of a city. It's like, well, you want to get Chinese, you want to get Italian, you want to get Thai, you want to get Indian.
Yeah, but the difference is there's a lot of cuisines that, annoyingly are not considered, like, high classy. Like, you'll never see someone call, like, Mexican food classy, or see, like, Chinese food as, like,
because it's not supposed to be.
Well, it really just comes down to racism, frankly, what is and is not considered high-class food.
Yeah, I can sort of see that. Like, French cuisine is usually considered much classier than Italian. Although Italian has a decent, but yeah, Mexican is definitely one. Chinese is probably another lesser fast food occasionally to
quote unquote lesser.
Yeah, I am doing air quotes, but you can't see it right now.
And it sucks because, like, I love a lot of these cuisines, but I would love to try Neptunian food. I would love to, see how all of these different alien species eat. I mean, assuming that it would be compatible with human biology.
I was just about to say, is that, yeah, who knows? You may not have the right type of methane, the methane consistency.
They could probably use molecular gastronomy to recreate flavors if they're not compatible with human biology.
Hell, alien immigrants to Earth could probably adapt the cuisine for whatever's available on Earth. Like, that's why American Chinese food is such a distinct thing to, say, food in China, because it basically was, all of these different regions of China adapting their cuisines to the ingredients that immigrants to America were able to access.
Yeah, in China, they just, they call Chinese food.
Well, again, it's a very different thing compared to American Chinese food.
Yeah, American Chinese food is a very different thing than just, like, actual Chinese food.
But it should not be considered any lesser.
Right, and then you also have stuff like Tex-Mex, where, Mexican adapted, filtered through Texas. There's also stuff like Creole, which is just a fusion of a whole bunch of different things. Hi, so this is Nova in the editing room a few days later, and I just felt the need to pop in and clarify that when I say Creole here, I am specifically referring to the cuisine of the Louisiana Creole people, which is sort of a blend of general Southern American cooking plus influences from West Africa, France, Spain, the American Indians, just... Yeah, the word Creole can refer to a whole bunch of different groups of people, but this is specifically what I was referring to.
Italian American is very different from, Italian in Italy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We have all these different styles of pizza here in the United States, which partly comes down to, the regions of Italy that the immigrants came from. For example, where I live in New Haven, Connecticut, you have much more chewy crust. It tends to be charred because it's descended from Neapolitan immigrants, people from Naples.
Yeah, and I've got more like actual Italian places where I am.
Yeah, there's a lot that you can explore through the concept of food. And actually, now I kind of want to see like a sci-fi series that's just like a fictional cooking show from a sci-fi universe that's like talks about these different alien cuisines and what. There is potential for some really entertaining, an entertaining series in that.
It would be like that scene from the Star Wars Holiday Special where they're cooking.
Yeah, like that, except less bad. But like there is potential in that kind of a concept, or hell, you could even do it in like a fantasy world. Oh wait, that I think that already is the show. I think there's like an anime of that, of like adventurers diving into a dungeon to get ingredients to cook. I don't know what the title is, but I think I've heard about that being a thing.
Ooh, I'll have to check that out if I can find it.
Shall we get back onto track?
Right.
Muffins!
Well, just like the point of what I was trying to say at the beginning of this, it's just interesting that with Elzar that we have like Neptunian cuisine seen as like this classy, high rent thing, and I don't know, I just found that interesting. But yeah, so the scene at the delegation, the neutrals just crack me up.
Yeah, well, the internet loves the neutrals. I love the neutrals.
It's hard not to love the jokes there.
Yeah.
Because it is such a simple idea. It's such a simple concept, but they really do run with it because it takes everything. It takes this cliche and it just turns it on its head to like all the standard cliches.
If I don't survive, tell my wife hello.
Yes, that one was great. Yeah, the neutrals are, well, neutral very much to an extreme.
I think my favorite joke from them was live free or don't. The neutrals really are just hysterical, and so honestly, so is Zap's just incoherent and inexplicable hatred of them.
Well, obviously, the worst thing that you could possibly be is a centrist.
Yes, but a centrist is very, very different from what we have here.
Absolutely. But the joke here is like, how do you hate these people that it is their entire idea is to have no opinion and cause no trouble?
They're the biological equivalent of a wet blanket.
Or it's sort of a Rorschach test. You project your own insecurities onto them. So because Zap Brannigan is naturally mistrustful of others, he believes that the neutrals have to be up to something.
That actually makes a surprising amount of sense. I was not expecting that level of insight.
And we get a brief appearance of the Amazonians that we're going to see at how much later?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
But I just love all the different alien designs because you get some that are throwbacks and some that are newer ones, some that we would see later and some that we will never see again. So I imagine that the artists and the writers had a lot of fun just coming up with unique designs, because there's certain ones that they can come up with just as a one-off shot, and then there's one that is just like we have this interesting race that we want to start using.
The yarn people, even if they never show up again to my memory, are actually pretty adorable too.
They are.
Just keep them away from the scissors.
And kittens.
Which I love the fact that the ceremonial scissors are these like giant rounded safety scissors like you would see in a kindergarten classroom.
Yeah.
They should have been colored too. They should have been like coated in plastic.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And so had like not necessarily Fisher Price, but like say Crayola on the side.
Well, there's always,
Not necessarily Crayola, but something like
something that looks like that to avoid copyright issues.
Right, yeah.
Crayora. I also really love Zap's rock, paper, scissors joke. I think it's one of my favorite lines from him.
He just sounds so confusing himself.
I think it's kind of ruined by him telling, and Kif, get me a rock. And then Kif just saying, why? I feel like it should have just ended with, and Kif, get me a rock, and Kif just like kind of sighs. He's like, there's no reason to questioning this.
I mean, either way, it's pretty funny in my opinion,
Yeah.
but I get what you're
We
saying.
lost the plot here.
Yeah.
Little bit. So another first appearance in this episode is the Hyper Chicken lawyer.
Oh, that was it. Yeah.
I do declare.
He's very Foghorn Leghorn.
He's a Southern Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, god damn it.
Yeah.
God damn it.
I found it interesting how the jury was made of people who are witnesses.
Responsible for the actions. Yeah, people who are involved in it. Which, yeah, you kind of have to be a neutral party to. Well, not the same kind of neutral parties, but you kind of have to be a neutral party to be considered part of the jury. But I'm glad because they immediately found Zap guilty. He's like, good, and he is absolutely guilty here.
Yeah,
Fuck this guy.
He should be.
It's almost ridiculous the restrictions there are when it comes to being a U.S. juror. Like, you can't have been assaulted or know someone who has been assaulted on a rape case. Apologies for that deep one, but still.
Well, which I mean, I because obviously they can't. That's which is true for pretty much any crime. Like if it's on a murder trial, it usually you can't have a juror who has been involved with any sort of thing like that because they want them to be like I said, a neutral third party, someone who's not part of the group, who has no personal investment in that type of case, because then they would be tempted to get revenge on the person that wronged them by attacking this other person that was not directly involved in that thing just because it's a related crime.
You can't even look up anything.
I mean, it makes sense. It's just, it is a little frustrating. Also, apparently you can be disqualified from serving on a jury if you know what jury nullification is.
Yeah,
Oh
which
my
is,
God.
if you ever want to get out of jury duty, just ask them about jury nullification, which, I mean, I deliberately don't get out of jury duty because I know if I were ever on a trial, I would want someone like me on the jury.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Except the only times I've ever been called for a jury, it ended up getting canceled before it went to trial.
Yes,
So
same.
I had to serve jury duty at least 3 or 4 times. I only actually served on a case once, and that was my first time, and it was over the course of several days, so that really kind of sucked.
I mean, no one likes doing jury duty.
No, but I mean, the fact that so many people try to get out of it really kind of undermines the system because because there's that old joke is like the jury is filled by people who are too stupid to get out of jury duty. It's like that's not the right take on it. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but that's not necessarily that they were too stupid.
Yeah, the justice system is a mess in all sorts of places.
Yeah. Still, I'd rather have, in most cases, a jury than, like, a single judge with their one person's biases.
Oh, definitely.
Like, I'd rather have 12 people's biases who could potentially balance each other out than, just one person with unilateral control. So after after they're discharged, I do have a question. Why is Kif still hanging around Zap? Like, he doesn't need to be there anymore, especially after Zap threw him under the bus. Every time I watch this episode, I keep hoping he'll just call him out on his shit and leave.
He almost does.
I mean, he sort of tries at the end, but he barely protests when he's forced.
Yeah, it made me really happy seeing how Kif was actually getting appreciated by Leela, and he's like, "You actually thanked me. That's never happened to me before."
Yeah, his overwhelmed reaction to even the slightest bit of validation makes me want to give him a hug.
This man needs some therapy.
Absolutely.
Well, it's good, but I'm glad that they develop him later as a more developed character as the series goes on, which is great. He deserves that kind of happy ending.
Kif is a good boy. He's a cinnamon roll too pure for this world.
Yeah, he's big squishy dork.
Actually, there is one line that kind of explains a lot in this episode when Zap tells Leela, "You're the only woman who ever loved me." I mean, physically. Like, he's never had sex with anyone else? I mean, I guess that explains his constant fixation on her.
is not just his fixation on her, but all his posturing and trying to appear like he knows what he's talking about. Kind of like those 14-year-old kids who pretend to know what sex is. It's like, oh yeah, I do sex all the time. Like when you reach out and it feels like a bag of sand.
I can't say I've ever been that kid or ever really known that kid. Maybe I just hung around weird kids.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I knew stuff, but I wouldn't say anything about it.
That's exactly. But everybody pretend that you don't know these things. You just make fun of other people for not knowing these things.
Kids are weird.
Well, yeah, of course they're kids.
But there's still some sort of, peer pressure to know these things.
Yeah, so which is very much in Zap's character. He is kind of this kid that kind of fell into this position of power, and he really has never had the wind taken out of his sails until this episode.
Yeah, this episode, he finally faces the consequences of his actions, but then, of course, because status quo is God, it all just snaps back to normal at the end, which is why this episode is so frustrating.
I don't think it's so much that it's the status quo. I don't think the status quo is the problem. It is obviously done for the humor, but the humor is not really at the expense of the audience. The humor is at the expense of the characters because Leela knows that if she doesn't testify that his actions were good and he'll be back, then that means he'll be working at Planet Express again, which she absolutely does not want to do. So it's about protecting her own ass, even if it means making him look good.
I suppose it's just still a very frustrating way to end the episode.
It would be nice if he actually learned his lesson for once, but obviously that's not going to happen.
No, at least not in this episode.
I feel like Zap may be psychologically incapable of growing as a human being.
Unfortunately, there are many people like that we know, which I feel is kind of the problem with Zap Brannigan rewatching this series in 2021. We have had too many people like this in a position of power that it becomes less humorous and way too real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It does strike a little too close to home.
Yeah, which, I mean, when he was done, he was a satire. He was basically done as a parody of William Shatner in this kind of a dumb role as a ship captain who doesn't know what he's doing. But unfortunately, his actual attitude is much less fictional these days.
Yeah. We have too many people in this world who spend all of their time sowing and not enough time reaping.
And they need to meet those, the yarn people.
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about the second half of this episode. Like, all of the interesting stuff is in the first half. Second half, we have, like, this interesting concept of a planet with just higher gravity, but that's a standard sci-fi thing that other shows have explored.
I like it. I like the choices that they have for these different backdrops that they set these episodes in. Like the neutral aliens are great. The super gravity planet is great. I do like they actually named a number, not like that each pillow weighs 150 pounds and not just that it's really heavy. I do like a bit of a continuity where they say you'll be crushed by the weight of your own hair, and then when you see Leela step off the ship, you actually do see her hair get pulled down.
There's some really nice little touches in this episode. It's just not a whole lot that I feel like I can get much value from talking about it, if you know what I mean.
Right,
Yeah.
it's just it's an episode to watch and enjoy, but not really too much to analyze in it, other than Zap being a insufferable pig, and we love to see him get punished.
It was kind of funny when they went back for Leela and Kif in the laundry room and they're doing the laundry.
They're doing laundry because, like, what else are you gonna do in there? Laundry. Yeah, that is a great line. Like, we don't have a brig. We'll throw into the laundry room, which was since be referred to as the brig. But go to the laundry brig.
It's a funny episode. It's very it's another disposable one.
Yeah, it felt over pretty fast after the first half.
Yeah, it is a very quick episode to get through. And speaking of disposable, they are still keeping up with the Nibbler's dark matter fuel jokes, because like Bender literally says that crap's heavy and warm. Which, so You probably didn't mean crap figuratively either.
Maybe, maybe not, because we know that, Mom also sells dark matter starship fuel.
True.
So for all we know, it might be store-bought.
Could be, but it was spherical, so...
Plus, if you have a free source of it, why not use it?
Real.
Yeah, although given how much fuel a starship likely takes, I don't think Nibbler makes enough of it on his own.
Still, it's good to what's the term?
Self-sustaining?
Not self-sustaining, but it's like you augment or you
Supplement?
Supplement, yes. It's good to supplement your supply with additional stuff. It's like if you have chickens and they don't lay enough eggs to completely completely stop your reliance on store-bought eggs, it still helps.
True enough. So, anything else to add?
Save the banjo.
Save the banjo. Yeah, the really frustrating thing about this episode is that knowing that Zap is going to continue to be his thing is, yeah, the thing is that's not fictional. There are people that are like that and they never seem to get their comeuppance, and that is very true to life, where keeping them in power is doing less trouble just because the people near them just want them out of there, just don't want to deal with them themselves.
Yeah, we're even seeing this now with like a lot of people who are getting supposedly canceled, and then within a year or two they're back on TV and it's like nothing happened.
God, I hate
They're
it.
back on TV talking about how they've been silenced and everybody's listening to them. Is like, no, the real way to silence somebody is to not talk about them at all.
Yeah, and the people who are actually getting quote-unquote canceled, I hate that term. Like, they're usually, minorities who only messed up over something minor and they get dogpiled and doxxed and end up having to deactivate whatever accounts they have for their own safety.
Which is happening with Audacity right now. Even the guy responsible for the Audacity fork is getting all kinds of like death threats from 4chan.
Yeah, I read about that. Or hell, for another recent example, I don't remember the person's name, but someone who was a pioneer in game emulation ended up basically being bullied into suicide.
Oh, absolutely. I heard about that too, which is just so disgusting.
Yeah. 4chan is a freaking cesspit, man. Just shut it down.
Sad part, it's not the only website out there.
Oh, it's not the only one, but each one that you shut down, that's one less place for them to do this, and the goal is to make it harder.
That is very true. But sometimes it feels like you're fighting a hydra.
Put down one and 7 more pop up.
Yeah, but, that doesn't mean you shouldn't. Just because the fight is endless doesn't mean you should give up.
Well, yeah.
But this is a bit of a heavy topic to end on, so...
Yeah, we're getting back on track. This episode is not sponsored by 4chan, but if we don't come back, we've been canceled by them.
Yeah. Hashtag save the banjo. And now I want a muffin. Thank you for listening to Space Podcast 3000. Your 3 voices of the future are Nova Altman, Doug Hancox, and Eden Valerie. The theme music is Voxel Revolution by Kevin MacLeod. You can hear more episodes of Space Podcast 3000 on YouTube, or at soundcloud.com/spacepod3k. You can support the show and listen to new episodes a full week early at patreon.com/spacepod3k. Follow us on Twitter at spacepod3k. Be sure to join us next time as the Planet Express crew gear up for an election in Ahead in the Polls.
Zap ropes Kiff into joining him, and the two escape in the only spacesuits aboard. With a fucking motorcycle driving by that screws up your fucking take when you finally get it right. God damn, how are you still going? Brrr, brrr. The Doppler effect does not work that way. You're supposed to get quieter as you pass by, not louder.